Okay, so I intuitively received Alex Jones's birth time as 2:11 p.m., Dallas, Texas. And, well, everybody knows that, or any astrologer that's looked his chart up can see, yeah, he was born in Dallas, Texas. So February 11th, 1974, 2:11 p.m. I didn't add up the numerology to see, but anyway, this is not an in-depth reading on him. I was more interested in looking at his transits. So, anywho, I'll just go over the important things, and then I have two charts under here to show you what's the lead up is. What the lead up for him will be with the Aquarius full moon that's happening coming up on Thursday. So, first of all, I have to say, if you personally know your own chart and you have any of the signs and planets that he does, please do not take anything I'm going to say about him as something about you, because that is not the way it works. Astrology is not a one-size-fits-all, and it's a combination, a very unique combination of a person's traversing in and out of lifetimes to come into wholeness. So, anywho, what I got was this 19 degrees Gemini as an ascendant. Okay, so that means that Mercury, the planet of communication and truth or lies, rules his ascendant. Now, Mercury's up here, and it's the only planet in his chart that is of a water sign. But it's up here in the 10th house. So there's so many indications here that this is the exact time, I believe. I could be wrong, and another astrologer could rectify this chart and get a different time. That's okay, too. I'm open to all possibilities here. But even if this time wasn't right, all the aspects would still be the same. The only thing that would change with a different birth time would be all the hot points right here, the 4 hot points. The ascendant, the IC, the descendant, and the midheaven. So much of what I'm going to say has great bearing versus, or whether or not the ascendant is. Even if we ran the chart at noon, we didn't know what his ascendant was. That's what most astrologers do. Still, all of these aspects would be the same, okay, between all the planets. So, important, like I was saying before, Mercury in the 10th house, I see as the house of, the purpose for how we interface with the world, right? So, in Mercury up here, and I'm going over Mercury first. Most people are drawn to the sun, but I'm going here first because Mercury would be the ruler of his chart. Mercury up here in the 10th house would have to do with his ability to manipulate others. And notice it's one of his few planets that are not retrograde. So retrogrades are do-overs. He has Saturn. The nodes retrograde mean nothing. Saturn, Pluto, Uranus, and Venus retrograde. The only 2 planets he doesn't have retrograde, well, Chiron, of course, is not a planet, but it's just as important. But the only other planets he doesn't have retrograde is his Sun conjunct Jupiter up here and Neptune, which still, anyway. I'm just going to show you the major patterns that I see. So anyhow, with this Mercury up here in Pisces, I feel like this is his ability to manipulate other people into that like victim type of mentality. Like the world is the world is pretty screwed up, right? But there's all this new world order, and he has managed to amass great fortune. Here's his Venus in the 8th house of other people's money, other people's resources. by, selling supplements and with all of his lies here. He does have, well, let me go back here. Let's stick up here for a moment with Mercury and the aspects to Mercury. Okay, so see how we've got these two sesquisquares here to the Moon and Uranus, and we also have this semi-square here to Venus, and then Venus is binging off of Neptune over here, right? These aspects here are amazing stubbornness. This dude has had a lifetime or lifetimes, I think, after a lifetime of being a very, very stubborn person who is just hell-bent on putting a massive amount of willpower into relationships of which he could become famous and make money. It's like fame and fortune at any price, And this is up here, with Venus being the planet of money, money and relationships, basically, in the 8th house, no less. So with this inconjunct over here to Saturn, this guy, he will do anything for money. He's got tons of relationship karma, right? And he'll gaslight and do anything just for money. And so with the Sun conjunct Jupiter up here in Aquarius, well, most Aquarians are pretty humanitarian, but not him. Not him. He's cut off from his heart. There's nothing in Leo. There's nothing, what do we have here? We have air, fire, air, some earth, and, Venus and Mars and earth signs, and they're trying, so yeah, okay, I'll give him that. But there's nothing in Virgo that might make him rethink himself or try to heal. It's all about money and manifesting, right? Mars in the 12th, he doesn't even really know what his motivations are. This Saturn trining, so he does have this grand air trine, right? This is his gift of, well, I don't know, I can't stand his voice, and he does seem like he's about to blow a head gasket every time he speaks, usually. Works himself into this victim baloney. It could be performance art. It really could be with Pluto and the Moon and Uranus down here in the 5th house. He definitely could be acting. But with this grand air trine here, he does have the gift of communication. It's just that he doesn't care. He's cut off from his heart. It's all about being seen at all costs, being famous, right? I don't know what his wounding was as a child. I kind of feel he was one of those kids that was never seen, heard, or understood. Or could be the opposite, and he got all kinds of, maybe he got all kinds of things, and I don't know. I've done zero research on him. Only thing I do know, I do remember when, I've done so many readings on him, but I forget when it was. But I remember when he was going through that trial with his first wife, the 3 kids. She wanted to get the 3 kids out of his house, right? And she fought for custody rights, and she won. He only gets visitation rights. And then he got married again and had another child with someone else. That's the only thing I really know about him. I don't know anything about his childhood, is what I should say. But anywho, this is the most important piece right here. When you're looking for karma, you look for the South Node, and most astrologers look for Saturn. I look at the whole chart, but Saturn definitely. And it's in his 1st house, sense of self, need to exist, all of that. Like, I'm here. Well, he's here, and he's got something to say. And Saturn's retrograde in Gemini, no less. Of course, Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. He has no Virgo, but he has, right, this connection here, even though it's not in a trine, but it is trining his sun. He knows how to, build things here. With Jupiter trine the South Node in Saturn. This tells me, and the sun is conjunct, so he really knows, like deep in his core, the core of who he is. This tells me past life information here. In the core of who he is, he knows how to manifest by using his voice. So I get this feel of like, snake oil salesman type of guy. I wonder if he was famous in his past life. I have no idea. I don't know that I care to spend any more time on him other than this one and some other viewer questions that I have that I will address, because I missed one of those from the first reading, so I will readdress that one. And then Roxanne has a really good question. So anywho, what we have going on here is this Saturn where he has to get lessons the hard way. And then with the opposition, the polarity of the nodes from Gemini to Sag, it's about, trying to gather facts, and it's basically truth versus lies. And here we are with, he needs to get to the truth in some lifetime, but I don't know if he really cares. And what I feel with this combination here, it's like I will conquer anyone who opposes me, is what I feel like with this. And so this is his karma. Now, with Neptune in the 6th in Sag, of course he does have the gift and the ability to put himself on all type of media platforms. This is another indicator that this is If it wasn't 2:11 p.m., it was somewhere with a Gemini ascendant, is what I'm getting. Something that would put Neptune in the 6th definitely fits him, or some time that would put Neptune in the 5th. He has the aspect of the architect going on here to the moon and Uranus, and again, the moon is about public and the mood of the public, and he definitely knew how to shake people up with this moon conjunct Uranus. Who else had something conjunct Uranus, right? I mean, we're talking Trump with his sun conjunct Uranus in Gemini, another air sign. So anyway, let's just, look at the important pieces, and then I want to look at the transits. It's actually much more interesting. Up here with this sun conjunct Jupiter, Jupiter can be excessive. It can also create loss eventually. And what happens with this combo here, I keep feeling like with Uranus trining the sun, binging up here off of Jupiter, trining the moon, my goodness, and then Saturn, it feels to me like this is just excessive rebellion, and give me what I want, basically. I know, and I'm going to tell you, and all this crap. And then, with Pluto down here in Libra, with this sesquisquare here and sesquisquare to Mars, and then the square, this combination here, there are so many aspects of stubbornness here. He has just that signature, like I was saying, of a liar and the most stubborn soul I've ever seen. I don't know that I've ever looked at a chart and seen all of these stubborn aspects here. Well, of course not, because a person like him probably would never go see an astrologer. Because, he knows everything, and he doesn't listen to anybody, I doubt, unless he wants something from them. So with Chiron up here in the 11th house in Aries, I think he's wondering why. He's not going to like being left out in the cold or abandoned or anything like that, or rejected. And there could be some real deep existential fears going on. And he's got to feel like he matters, like he's the big honcho. And I think he wonders why he's not the leader. Like, why is he not president? And this is a kind of setup of a chart. This is the kind of guy that unless he's stopped, he will just keep going and going and going. And he would run for president, providing his health held out for him and he had the backing, right? It's not going to work, but, he would. So it's like, oh my God. Let me see, is there anything else I care about looking at his I mean, with this Uranus here, I think, and especially retrograde in Libra, I think he has had some soul shocks in the past, in his past lifetimes, especially in relationships, some shakeups. And then, especially with Chiron up here, like, oh, how dare you leave me? That kind of thing. But, yeah. And then natally having this would explain how he lost custody, rights for those 3 children, because Uranus in the 5th house of children and Pluto in the 5th house of children and the moon there ruling children. I mean, it's all, yeah. So, anyway, for his soul to heal, the only thing that could open this like lever to heal his past and his future, to free up the future, would be for him to do some really deep emotional process work and understand, like, why is he experiencing what he's experiencing. I don't know that he would. I think he probably numbs out to excess with Mars and Taurus up here in the 12th. I think he just uses drugs and alcohol and anything else he can get his hand on to numb out. So, let's move on. Okay, let's put that over there. This is the day, and I wish I could remember who sent me. Someone put in the comments and told me 5:48 p.m. was when this happened, and I was like, oh, thank you so much. So I ran this chart. So these are his transits. The center is his natal, okay? Wow-wee. Look at this. So first of all, the thing that got me was Saturn on his sun. And we all know, or at least any of you who've been watching my weekly astrology videos, we're all under this tension of Saturn squaring the nodes. See? And we're all under this breakthrough that we've been going through. Now, the cool thing is, Kansas came in and did the right thing with their abortion rights. I mean, a lot of good news has come through. And I won't go into all the details now because I did in last week's, or it's actually this week's transits that video's already up and you can go look at it if you want. But for him, Saturn's the man, Saturn's rules. In the 9th house of courts of law, on his sun, Saturn is the taskmaster that will bring you the lessons you need to learn. So no, you don't get to expand. No, you don't get to do what you want. You have to listen to Judge Gamble tell you. And then you also have to sit there and listen to the prosecuting attorney telling you, dude, I got all your texts. I got the contents of your phone for the last 2 years from your own attorneys. And of course, he's on his 12th attorney, now. He's gone through 11 and he's on his 12th. But anyway, Saturn squaring this lineup that we're all going through, this has been Saturn square Uranus, big shakeup for him. In his money, hopefully his values will change. I doubt it. He's going through his Mars return right now. We each have our Mars return every 2 years. I kind of feel like, hold on, excuse me. I kind of feel like he's probably about to blow his top. Like he just can't, because when you have Mars, it's like you get more energy. It's a good thing if you're older like me. And it explains why little kids, we used to call them terrible twos. It's because every 2 years you get an extra oomph of life force coming through you. The body can usually take more life force coming through it if you're doing the work. Hold on, I've got to get some water a second. But anyway, he's, his motivation, his life force has just gone towards making more money and, he's got to be famous, that whole thing. So, courts of law, the court is teaching him lessons. This has been a long time brewing. The Saturn, it takes 28 to 30 years to get around the chart, right? He was born with Saturn in the 1st. He's had one Saturn return, and he's so At 30 years old, the dude should have known, right? Like, well, with him, he cemented his ability to speak, probably even more deeply. But anyhow, he's headed towards his second Saturn return, which means when that happens, he's going to have Saturn go through his 12th house first and hit his ascendant. I don't know that he'll live that long unless he makes some major changes in his life. And you can see he's going through his Chiron return, which everyone has between 50 to 52 years old. And usually it's a once-in-a-lifetime transit unless you live to be well over 100 or make it to 100 at least. So Chiron return is coming in touch with your deepest wounding. And you've got to do a lot of deep process work and understand what your false beliefs are all about and clear them, and then your gifts come through. I don't think he's going to do that. Jupiter's there blowing up his wounding, right? See that Jupiter conjunct? It's coming into orb. It's not exact, but as Jupiter does, it's retrograde right now. As it does move forward, they're both retrograde, so they're both moving, together. And as Jupiter moves forward and conjuncts over, it's going to be something's going to blow up for him there. And the 11th house rules the internet and online, and, this is the kind of guy that if he was really busted for like wire fraud or something, I wonder if that could happen. This would be the kind of guy that in prison, you'd have that transit of oops, you don't get computer time. You don't, and when you get out, you're not allowed to go near a computer for X number of years. Like those types of things happen. So if that's not enough, how about looking at Pluto on the planet of money? Pluto on his Venus, exact, right? I mean, it's already gone over. It's like it's been on his Venus, working him. Oh my goodness, this is a reversal of fortune. This is bankruptcy. This is death to his ability to take other people's money. So whether or not he has legally, truly filed bankruptcy, I don't think so, but I think he's going to have to, or a Chapter 11 to where they can just keep pulling money out to pay for these families, to pay for the lawsuits from Sandy Hook, because they're still coming down the pike. This is just the beginning, and he's already out $50 million. This one was 45, the other one was 4 something. So so we're talking close to 50 million. And what makes you wonder about his attorney's fees, right? And it's possible that he has to pay their attorney's fees. Maybe that's included. I don't know. So anyway, and this is just his transits in his, planetary makeup here. This is not, I didn't even look at his solar return for the year or his progressions or his solar arcs and this, because I don't want to give this guy too much time. This is just because there's so much here, right? So this Saturn square to these, to the south node with the moon, oh my gosh, it couldn't get much better than that, because the moon was back here, when the first 4 million was awarded, and it was already approaching Uranus. It's like ruh-roh, right? And then it went further and further, and then it hit, conjuncted with the south node, and then now it's just barely over the other side. Actually, by the time it's full, it'll be way up here. It's moved on. I don't even know where it is right now. I'd have to grab another chart, and I don't want to. Anyway, this was the 5th on Friday. I'm reading this on Monday. So more news to the public, coming out about his working ethics, and I think there's going to be some illumination coming through there. Let's see. And then, what else? With this square, Here's the transit of his chart ruler down here on his IC, and this is a past life point, so information coming out that affects him deeply. The sun is moving this way, shining the light, and it's gonna hit the past life point too, right here. It's a major hot point right here when the sun gets to 0 degrees Virgo. But meanwhile, it's getting ready to build this like grand square coming up, and I'll show you that chart in a second. Let me see if I just don't want to miss anything here. I feel like this Uranus, this transit here, this stellium here in the 12th house, I feel like it's been a shock to his psyche. And it's like, the house of meeting your past discretions, your karma. It's a very karmic house. Uranus in the 12th will help you wake up. Yeah. Definitely help you wake up. Wake up and smell the cat box, dude. So let's see. Pluto there. Pluto's getting ready to oppose. Venus is moving this way. He's having a Venus opposition coming in. 22 degrees to 26 to Pluto to 25. Yeah. Tight orb there. Let's see. I just want to make sure I'm not missing. Well, actually, I think I could go forward because if there's anything else, it'll be in the next one too. So here's the clincher. Notice the moon has moved all the way up here. Pluto's still there, is going to be there. Venus has moved past that direct opposition, and it's in its waning, it's leaving. But still, reversal of fortune, bankruptcy, all of that. And the sun is exactly, because the full moon is always the sun opposite the moon. And notice how 19 degrees Leo to 19 degrees Aquarius up here. The moon is conjunct Saturn. This is the big important piece right here. This is going to be major depression for him. Again, that grand square, or Saturn's up in the T-square, is at the apex of this square to the stellium in Taurus. So, lessons with the courts of law. The public knows, the light shining. We've got a spotlight of energy going on down here from the sun, and we've got a square. See how 19 degrees here to 17 degrees here, 19 degrees here to 18, 17, and 25. We have a T-square here and a T-square here. If I busted out my highlighter, man, we have a grand square going on up here. All right? This isn't fun. He has karma as a liar. He needs to get into the truth, and he needs to be truthful in his relationships as to why he's done what he's done. The South Node in his 6th house is bringing through the truth about the past as to his service, his working practices, right? Right? Man. And the nodes have already gone over his Neptune, because the nodes go backwards. So this South Node in Scorpio later on next year will be conjunct his Uranus and his moon. Woo! He's not going to like that. At some point, he'll hit his Pluto. Very karmic, major karmic aspects going on. So what else? I think that's about it. Honestly think that's all I have to say. It's just that everything I was saying before is going to be full-blown on display by this full moon. I mean, people are going to be seeing everything. Maybe there's going to be news dumps coming out about his past that brings in information from the January 6th committee, because we're talking courts of law here that are illuminated. This would be our Saturn up here would be our January 6th committee, the man. right? Oh, dear. Yeah. The moon will keep going, and it'll make him feel pretty. He's going to have this is going to be the worst full moon he's probably ever experienced. Makes me wonder. Because with Saturn there, and then it's, well, every month he gets the moon on his sun and moon on Jupiter, and it probably just gets him talking more. But to have Saturn up there, I hope this is going to shut him up. The ninth house also rules publishing. So this Saturn in the ninth could have the effect of, I don't know that it would totally shut down his ability to make money, because he's going to need to, well, I don't know. I'm going to have to use some, I didn't get with the one spread I didn't get that they would be totally shutting him down. But this is definitely a restriction up here with Saturn, a restriction on his ability to express in such an excessive way. And Saturn is moving towards his, when Saturn makes it to 0 degrees Pisces, it'll be right on his midheaven, which is, his ability to put himself out in the world. And he's going to be, oh, poor me, victim. You know what he's going to do. And then when Saturn hits his Mercury, I'll have to keep an eye on that transit. When that happens, maybe it'll shut him up somehow, right? Because it's like, oh, there's a wall here. Oh, God. Yeah. Okay. So, and I feel like this grand square, it brings in that element of like, okay, and Neptune in the 10th, yeah. Like, oh, what do I do now? Wowee. Yeah. I mean, Neptune's been in his 10th house for quite some time. And then when it moves to the 11th, I don't know. Yeah. It moves so slowly. It's like 14 years in one house, but it's been... So that means that he was probably... Well, wait, when did he start? Was it like in the 90s? Pretty sure he started InfoWars. I know for sure by the late 90s. But I'm thinking maybe 95 or so. It would kind of make sense. His North Node's in Sag. He probably... Because Pluto was in Sag in 95. No, actually... Pluto moved into Capricorn. Was it in Capricorn in 95? Moved out of Sag into Capricorn in 95? Is that what? I can't remember. But anywho, yeah, so Pluto, of course, is in his 8th by now. By the time he gets into his 9th, hopefully, he'll have a huge change in his belief system. Right now, he's getting his lessons as to his belief system. And Jupiter is the planet of beliefs. And he's needed to get a broader understanding. With Aquarius, it's all about thinking outside the box. But he's got himself in quite a box, remember, because of this trine to Saturn. He's put himself in this box. I think he does believe the crap that he says. I think he's just that confused. I really do. I really do. And it's mostly because of this Saturn in his first, in Gemini, retrograde, on his south node. Yeah. Then again, he might just be the kind of guy who's just not very... just so hell-bent on making money and being famous that, he just gloms onto something and then gets lost in it. It's possible. And again, if you have any of these planets in these signs, please don't take anything, into your soul that has, or into your psyche, into any. Don't even go there, because this is him, no one else. Even if he had an identical twin brother born a minute after him, I would still read it differently. Because this is only him. So, okay, well, I'm done. Yeah, so we're just going to have to wait and see what comes down the pike for him. But I'm going to get this uploaded, and meanwhile, wish you guys a good, happy full moon. Okay, take good care. Bye.